because I had the food allergies, I had to start reading labels. And then once I started reading the labels, I started learning more about what's in our food.
So a few years ago, you decided to completely overhaul your diet. What happened?
Yeah, so I was diagnosed with several IgE food allergies, so I had to remove those foods from my diet. And up until then, up until I was like 25 years old, I could pretty much eat whatever I wanted. So it was like a very drastic change for me. So I had to get pretty creative with things.
Yeah, this is one of the reasons that I was really wanting to have you on the show is because your story is unfortunately common for so many people, right? Men and
Mm-hmm.
women, but it's becoming more and more common. You have a background in clinical social work, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, did
Yeah.
you ever have an interest in nutrition?
Not necessarily. I really liked to cook. Like I always cooked with my mom growing up, but I never really knew very much about the profession. I feel like it's hard because you go to college and you don't know unless you know. And now I think about it all the time, and I'm like, oh, if I knew, maybe that's what I would have studied. And I do think about going back and getting a master's in nutrition. That's something I would really like to do.
Yeah, I mean, these chronic diseases, right? These immune diseases, chronic conditions. One of the things that's so unfortunate about them is how they make people feel. They feel so
Mm-hmm.
hopeless. So, with your conditions, when you found out that you had them, what did you decide? How did you decide to take the next step? And how did you settle on a diet being the key linchpin?
Like I had to remove the food allergies, so that was like not really something I couldn't do. But as I learned more about diet and nutrition, because I had to start, well, so because I had the food allergies, I had to start reading labels. And then once I started reading the labels, I started learning more about what's in our food. And then I started learning more about what's in our products. And from there, I started learning, how to basically fuel my body and use food as medicine.
Were you surprised? You get this food allergy diagnosis. Were you surprised when you started reading labels what was in the food that you were kind of commonly eating?
Um, yeah, kind of. I never really ate like the standard American diet, but I had like I would eat some things from it. I think, you know, we're told like, that certain foods are bad, but I didn't really know to the extent of like what was going in them. And I think it's more so that like these foods are not actually food.
Yeah. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, there's so much processing, there's so much that's being added to the foods that we don't know about. Was there a food or a food group that was really causing you a lot of issues?
Um, I think just like gluten, dairy were the main ones that were causing me a lot of issues.
And so, okay, so that's something I wanted to kind of dive into a little bit deeper because, you hear this so commonly that, there's so many people, children, adults that are having these gluten and dairy allergies and this growth in them. It's been frankly quite exponential
Mm-hmm.
over the last 50 or so years. Have you researched that? I mean, why do you think that that is?
Well, I mean, there's more and more research coming out about food allergies and the gut microbiome, which like I think is everything. It's just we're kind of waiting for the research to really catch up and tell us that that's the case. And they're looking at, what happens in your gut when you're a baby. And, a lot of kids have food allergies now. It's less common. My situation is less common where I just developed allergies at 25. A lot of children have food allergies now, but they are learning more and more about that. And we know that like the gut microbiome from the mom gets passed to the baby. So if we're not taking care of ourselves before we have children, then that can cause issues. And I mean, there's not enough research to back that up, but to me, it kind of seems obvious that if most people are eating the standard American diet now, we've completely wrecked our gut health. And now we're all having babies. Um, the babies aren't going to have very good gut health either. Like we're just kind of starting them off in a not so great place some of the time.
Yeah, that's exactly right. One of the most critical windows of opportunity that we have to impact human health and the future of human health is the first 1,000 days of life. So it's conception to year two. That's
Mm.
this critical window. And it's critical, obviously, for the gut microbiome development, exactly what you were talking about, right? The development of the microbiome that happens when you're pregnant and then is passed down through birth.